Hello, Kuma229 here with another Topic of the Week video. This week starts Christmas month, which I will be celebrating with video games. What else? I'll be doing 4 topic videos with some of my favorite video game topics that I've gotten that I've been waiting to do for months. So I finally get to do them. I've been saving them all for this month. So, the first topic that we're going to get is on Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. And this was submitted by my friend jaune-valjeen. Her topic was, which aspects of the Twin Snakes were better than Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PlayStation 1? The Twin Snakes, the very, very controversial game. For those of you who don't know, the Twin Snakes was a 2004 GameCube remake of the original Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PlayStation 1. Now, it wasn't just a port. It wasn't a port. It was a complete remake. They completely remade the whole game. It was developed by Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. I never played the game, so I don't really know much about it. It was developed by the creators of Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Silicon Knights, under the watchful eyes of Nintendo, which is why it turned out good. Now, one of the most important things about this besides the obvious graphical overhaul to modern graphics at the time, was the fact that it incorporated Metal Gear Solid 2 controls. So, finally got first-person aiming in Metal Gear Solid 1. But, you might be thinking, well, what could be bad? Honestly, gameplay has a few issues that people have, but the real point of contention, the real reason that people make such a stink about this game, and the real reason it's controversial, are the cutscenes, which can sometimes be Matrix level ridiculous. More ridiculous? So ridiculous that Metal Gear Solid fans are saying that's ridiculous. If Metal Gear Solid fans are saying that's completely unrealistic, you kind of went a bit too far. Now, I've never played this version of the game. I've only played the original PlayStation 1 version. I've heard about it. I've seen a few cutscenes. So I had to watch a playthrough and see, all these cutscenes. And I came to the conclusion that there are actually a number of things that I do in fact like over the original. Now, when I'm talking about stuff I do like, I will be talking about stuff that I didn't like and stuff that didn't work because, I don't know, it kind of goes hand in hand, really. Because it'd be kind of a short video if I only talked about the few things that I liked, and then, there are things that I like, things I didn't like, things that were okay. But I'm going to talk about all of them and mainly focus on the things that are good. First off, let me talk from a gameplay perspective. Now, I haven't played the game, so I can't give that, but I can definitely tell you that I would really appreciate first-person aiming. I would really appreciate it. I can't tell you how many times I was playing the PlayStation 1 version, and I'm just sitting there like, I want to shoot this guy. Trying to knock him out is, well, it's inconvenient. It's downright useless. Actually knocking guys out didn't actually get helpful until CQC was introduced in Metal Gear Solid 3. But so you had to kill everyone basically. Well, you had to waste a bunch of bullets, taking 3 shots for every guy, and you had to guess where they were, and it was just a hassle. Because when I was specifically playing Metal Gear Solid 1, I was just sitting there like, I want first-person aiming. Then come Metal Gear Solid 2, and hallelujah, we finally get that. The Twin Snakes introduces that, and that's nice. I like that. Another thing I like is the graphics. This is GameCube. This is 2 console generations ago. So, of course, it looks rough now. But I like seeing Metal Gear Solid 1, where, you know, people aren't block faces and their lips move. They're not just going, Metal Gear. What's the Metal Gear? Now on to the cutscenes. Really, the cutscenes, you know, and it's funny. People want to act like the cutscenes are all bad, and they're really not. There are a few that I actually kind of hate, just because they're so completely ridiculous and don't make any sense at all. Honorable mention goes to Snake backflipping off of a missile, launching a missile at Liquid's hind. Yeah, Snake's... no. It doesn't work. Now, I want to start with the basic thing that I liked. General blocking. Now, let's give Metal Gear, the original game, some credit. The original game had a lot of blocking and a lot of movement for the time. It really did. There were a lot of scenes in Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes, that were very much improved by just changing a little. And, you know, I went back and rewatched cutscenes, and, you know, some of them felt there was movement, but I don't know. There was more natural movement in the Twin Snakes. More natural, of course, you know. It still got a little goofy sometimes. And there was a lot of times when a character would just be kind of moving around. You know, stuff that didn't happen in PlayStation 1 simply because of technological limitations. You know, it happens. Technology progresses. Another thing I like is that it changed the pacing of some scenes. Now, of course, this worked well in some, or didn't work well in others. Every single cutscene is a tad bit slower than the original one. Watching the Twin Snakes cutscenes and then watching the original ones feel really fast. Now, I mean, like, let's see, gosh dang it, there was a specific one I was thinking of, and I was thinking of it as I was watching it. Near the end, when Snake, when Gray Fox comes in to save Snake from being killed by Liquid in the Rex fight. The pacing, now it's not perfect, but the pacing of the Twin Snakes feels better than the original. Watching the original one, a lot of stuff with Gray Fox seems a little fast outside of, you know, the confrontation in Otacon's lab. But some of it just felt a lot more natural. Like, it actually let the characters talk and sit there for a second for them, instead of just saying, now line, action, leave. It really just, sometimes the pacing didn't work and sometimes it did. Like the one scene, oh my gosh, I didn't even have to go back and rewatch it to know that this was messed up. When Snake is tied to the torture table and Sniper Wolf goes up to him and, like, says, "You're all I'm going to think about," or something along those lines. And then in the original version, she goes up to him, she does a little flirty thing, touching his face, and she's like, "See you later, handsome," and walks off. And then Ocelot's checking around, he's like, oh yeah, and he starts talking a little bit about her, a little backstory, because that's how Metal Gear Solid rolls, constant backstory. In the Twin Snakes, well, the pacing works better in other scenes. The extension of this doesn't work at all. Sniper Wolf goes up to Snake and starts, like, touching his chest, and she says her line, and then this is the part where Ocelot whistles as she's going up to him and he's checking her out. The way it's framed is just it almost looks like he's like getting turned on by her going on coming on to Snake. And it's like, really? And then there's some Ocelot and Sniper Wolf have a little. She gets a little puffy with him, and she huffs off. And then as she's right before she's leaves the room, she goes, "See ya later, handsome." And it's like, okay, guys, that was such a non sequitur. Like, you either keep the line and do it the same, or you change the line, or you don't. It's like they kept a lot of stuff the same, and I actually think that if they're going to keep these the same, they need to at least keep a lot of the scenes themselves the same. But okay, I get sidetracked. What I liked, when Gray Fox jumps in to help Snake, there's a lot of time, and it's funny because when it comes to a lot of these matrixy moves, that the one time the matrixy moves really worked was when Gray Fox was fighting Rex. And okay, we already know that he's superhumanly fast. He's been exposed to the gene therapy, and he has that robotic exoskeleton. So, and he's also freaking Gray Fox. So, of course, when he's jumping these flips, dodging bullets, that makes sense. It doesn't make sense when Snake does it, because Snake is still human. He may be better than everyone else, but he's still human. So him pulling off all these crazy moves doesn't quite work. For Fox, it did. And that whole extension, honestly, going back and watching the original cutscene from the PlayStation 1 version, I missed that action scene. Just because that whole extension just made everything feel... It flowed better. I think that's a good way to put it. The events flowed better. It didn't feel like it was rushing. Some of the events of the original game feel like they're rushing. Some extensions, like I said, didn't work. Sometimes they did. Another thing I really love are the added fight scenes. I love the 2 fight scenes in the cutscenes that they added for Fox and Snake. I love them. Now, more so the lab fight than the one right after Ocelot. This is something I thought about as I was watching it. It's more thematically powerful to have Snake constantly fight him in these cutscenes, and then, you fight him, in the gameplay. It's funny because when I was watching that one fight scene, the first one, in right after you beat Ocelot, and he comes in and cuts Ocelot's arm off. That fight scene where they have, yes, it's ridiculous, and I think it's part of it's kind of stupid. The whole thing where he slices off a slab of concrete and backflip kicks it, and then, since Snake, like, slow motion jumps over it, and it's like, really? But then the stuff, like, when they're moving and they're fighting, it's like, And then I went back and rewatched the original cutscene, and he just jumps in, slices his arm off, Ocelot runs off, and Snake's just like, "Who the hell are you?" And Fox is just like, "Lol," and then leaves. I don't know, I like that he, like, because Gray Fox wants to fight Snake to the death. That's his whole goal of coming to Shadow Moses. He wants to fight Snake to the death. So, having him constantly engage in fights with Snake, and then, later in the lab, it fits better. It works better. And then I love the fight scene in the lab. Get a little hand-to-hand action. The only thing I didn't particularly care for was when Snake grabs Fox and he like throws him like 20 feet. It's like, Snake's not that strong. But the whole little thing where they're fighting and they're, he's like, they're trading punches and then they're kicking each other. Could it be over the top? A little? But it worked. It's funny because this is actually something that I have to say one of the few things I like about Metal Gear Solid 4 are the handful of fight scenes in it. Especially the ending fight scene between Ocelot and Snake. It was a little dumb, but the actual choreography was great. It's fun and it's engaging to watch. I don't care if it's like 10 minutes long. If you're going to make me sit here for half an hour every 10 minutes, give me something awesome to look at. Don't give me all these 20-minute speeches from people I don't care about. I want fight scenes. You're gonna make me sit through a crappy story. Give me some freaking good fight scenes. But yeah, those fight scenes really added, and the fight scene in between after you've beat Liquid and you get that little fight scene. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think there is a little cutscene with that in the original, but it isn't nearly as dramatic. And I like this. One thing I really like in it's, I think I'll have to rewatch the cutscene with the Ocelot Snake fight, but I do think that they did copy the kicks. Where they come in, they're kicking each other, and they're constantly doing the same kick, so they keep like hitting each other in the same way. And I like that they do that like 3 or 4 times at the very end. They do this spinning back kick, and then it's like, or hook kick, I guess. And then their legs hit each other, and then they both jump up and they kick, and they both hit each other, doing the exact same move. And then they do the cross punch, and it's like. You know what? I like that. And honestly, it really drills home the fact that they're clones. They may be different. They may have been raised in completely different places and completely different lives. But they're on that wavelength in that fight. And I don't know. I like that. It works. It works thematically as they're establishing the clones. And it works for excitement because, holy crap, now we got this awesome fight scene here. There was the introduction when Snake first meets Meryl. I love how the Twin Snakes handles it. In the original one, it's very simple. Meryl sneaks up on him and puts a gun up and says, freeze, and then Snake's like, well, no, pulls his gun out and her says, you got rookie eyes. And it's like, they're transplants. But and that's really it. And then then they get caught. A bunch of people start trying to kill them. But the way it's handled is, I actually really like this. Excuse me. Meryl puts her hands up, puts the gun up, and says freeze. And I don't remember exactly how he says the words, but he disarms her. He grabs the gun and points it back at her. And then she disarms and she grabs the gun from him. And then she's like, ha! And then she's behind him and she doesn't realize he's got his gun, his SOCOM pointed at her. And it's like, and then, then it goes back to that. Then basically the cutscene plays out after. It's just, it doesn't take too much longer, but it's something that I actually really like and something that is sort of implied in the game, but it's never really delved into too much. Meryl has a lot of natural talent as a soldier. She really does. She's skilled. She's definitely got the mind for it. And she's really good at sneaking. She did it twice on Snake in the game. Once in that initial meeting, and second in the bathroom when you meet up with her again. she sneaks up on Snake both times. Yeah, because this is one of the reasons why I'm disappointed overall that we never really got more of her working with Snake and Otacon. Especially, it's like, we could have had a trio friendship of Snake, Otacon, and Meryl. We could have. Really wanted Meryl to work with them in philanthropy, but nope. Yeah, anyway. I'm delving into canon here, and that's not a fun place to be, Metal Gear canon. I'm talking about the twin. I need to talk about the Twin Snakes, which is technically non-canon. But, yeah, I like that aspect. She's able to disarm him. Sure, I mean, if he wanted to, he could have killed her at any point in that. He's really toying with her. But the fact that she can disarm him at all, even if he has to pull his gun on her, you know, even if he's the one, it's a nice and somewhat subtle way in a game that has a lot of over-the-top action scenes that really shows that Snake's still the top one here. I mean, he has a gun pointed out at you. It's like in Mass Effect 2 when Grunt throws you against the wall, and I don't know if it changes depending on your dialogue choices, but you know, you can basically say, hey, you know, join me. I'll be your battle master or whatever. But you still realize you got a gun pointed at Grunt, and he laughs. You know, it's something like that. It's like, yeah, you know, you got the drop on me, but I'm still better than you. And it's nice in a game that lacks a lot of subtlety with its cutscenes. That one moment really stands out to me. That one moment really stands out. It's something that wasn't super over the top, but it still put a lot across, especially for Meryl's character. And it did that better than the original, because I'm guessing very much technological. And then of course things get weird where she starts where Mantis mind controls her, and she's slow motion with her Falmus, and it's like, really? Do we have to do that? One thing. Something about gameplay that I hadn't really thought about because I haven't played it. But one thing that it did do is that the game actually did cut down on a lot of the absurd backtracking the game forces you to do. The original game you did. Like when you need to get a sniping rifle, you're going to have to go clear across to the other side of the map just to get a sniping rifle that you have to get to proceed. Well, they put a tranquilizer sniping rifle that is much, much closer to where you are at that time, so it significantly reduces the backtracking. Thank goodness. I remember that. I remember having to go clear across them. I'm like, why? But and then when you have to do the card, the heat sensitive card, instead of having to go to the ice, you know, the cold storage room that you fought Raven in to get it cold, and then having to go even farther to the blast furnace to get it hot, all you have to do is get through these pipes that are hot and cold, and voila. Thank goodness. You know, and it's not like it's difficult, it's just kind of obnoxious. And it's sort of lazy game design, really. It's not even like go to these new areas. It's like just walk back to these old areas. Oh, another thing I liked was all the spinning revolverness that they added with the Revolver Ocelot. He does the flippy tricks in the original, but it doesn't last nearly as long. In this one, it's like, oh, and he's like spinning his revolver over and over and over, flipping it, and then he continues going on about, this is the greatest handgun in the world. And it's so funny because outside of Metal Gear Solid 1, when you have Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3, you get a lot of spinny revolvers with Ocelot. There's a reason they call him Revolver Ocelot. It's not because he shoots well, it's because he constantly spinning revolvers, constantly. And I like that they did that. I like the extra. I mean, it's super weird, and Ocelot's super eccentric. Of course, it would fit his character. And then I also like this one moment that they added. It's near the end, and of course the whole scene is kind of stupid anyway. Why would Snake be sneaking in? Why is he holding this card out to get shot and have it fall into the poisonous pool? Hated that part. But he has, since he has his arm cut off, his arm is a stump. He's standing there next to Liquid. He sees Snake, and he has his the front holster with his revolver. He flips it up with his stump arm, and then grabs the gun and spins around and goes and fires at Solid. And I was like, I like that. It's like, and it's all about, this over-the-top craziness. Really, they should have shown restraint. If you focus it on the handful of characters that it makes sense for, that's totally fine. Ocelot doing a bunch of wacky, crazy, spinny stuff. He does that in all the games. Gray Fox doing all these crazy slow-motion, Matrix-style fight scenes. Well, yeah, he practically does it anyway. He's the cyborg ninja. No one's going to argue of a cyborg ninja pulling off a Matrix-style move, dodging bullets. Especially since he literally does the bullet dodge. When Rex is firing the machine gun at him, he's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's like, you can't even be mad at that just because it's Gray Fox. Gray Fox. He's the cyborg ninja. Of course, it works. It works like that. Just not with Snake. Oh, there is one specific thing that involves a line change. Some of the line changes are meh. Some of them I don't particularly care for. But there's one when they change the dialogue. I know they changed it and it's actually more accurate to the Japanese. People complain, but I saw commentary on this. It's actually more accurate to the original Japanese version, not the original English. When Mantis dies and he moves the bookcase to reveal the new the pathway, excuse me, and he says it feels nostalgic, and then he dies. A lot of people are like, well, before he said it felt nice. Well, actually, in the original one, he did say it felt nostalgic. The reasoning behind that, I read commentary on this. The reason he said that is because he was thinking of when his mother died. His mother died, gave up her life for him when he was born. She died in childbirth. She wanted him to live on. She was completely altruistic in that moment, caring not for herself, but for the life of her child. That was the nostalgia. When he was born, that's his psychic powers. He sensed that. And helping Snake out in his last final moments reminded him of his mother giving him, basically caring not for herself, but for him in her final moments. And it's something that's really touching. I really like that. And it's something I just wish more people didn't. I wish more people knew this. Because it's such a sweet moment. And it's such a great moment for Psycho Mantis. And Psycho Mantis' character really does. I really like his turn. And honestly, I really wish in another game he actually helped Snake out, not being like in Metal Gear Solid 4, like, Herder, I'm evil for some reason. Even though I had an arc and I had a character change and or face heel turn or heel face turn, whatever it is. I realized that being nice is actually good, and now I'm evil again. But it's like, but I like that line. That line. I mean, I don't really have many feelings on the other line changes. I'd have to go and compare every single line, and I don't want to go through all of the cutscenes. This is Metal Gear Solid we're talking about here. That would take days. Ah, yes. Mei Ling's accent drop. I love this. I never liked her really, really stereotypical Chinese accent, and I'm glad that her voice actress dropped it. Because she was born in China. I don't remember exactly where, but she was raised in America. So she obviously wouldn't have that heavy of an accent. But she did, and it didn't make sense. So instead of talking like this, she's talking like this. And it makes sense. And it's something that was remained consistent. And in fact, I think if you did the Mei Ling Easter egg in the Tinker chapter, which I'm sorry, I have to derail for a second. Why the hell wasn't Mei Ling involved in Metal Gear Solid 2? We know she was part of philanthropy, but she's only involved in the Tinker chapter. I'm sorry, that really bugs me. I like Mei Ling, and I'm so annoyed that she only had a cameo in Metal Gear Solid 2. Anyway, I like that her accent was dropped. It makes more sense, and it's a little easier to listen to. What I don't like is that they dropped Natasha and Naomi's accent too. Naomi had a British accent. Jennifer Hale using her British scientist voice, which was great. And then you had Nastasia, yeah, who is Russian. Born in Russia, raised in Russia, being Russian. She recounts her family being involved in Chernobyl. Why were their accents dropped? Well, Naomi's accent was dropped. Nastasia's accent was heavily toned down. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I read up, I'm not alone in not liking that Naomi's accent was dropped. I mean, sure, you'd have to give a little bit more explanation than England-owned Rhodesia. You know, but I mean, her, and it's not a bad performance, because it's Jennifer Hale. It's really hard to get a bad performance out of her. Even Sarah Palmer isn't a bad performance, and that's saying something. Now, but her British accent, it sounded better, and she sounded more distinct. And Nastasia, she's Russian! Of course she had the Russian accent. Like, who cares? It's Russian! I mean, yes, Metal Gear Solid 1 did go a little bit too far, mainly with Mei Ling, of trying to really hit that international feeling. We don't need to drop the Britishness of Naomi. And honestly, do we really need a hardcore explanation for this? It was like, I don't know, they muted too much. But Mei Ling was good. I like that. And I'm glad that's what was carried forward. I just wish Naomi kept her accent. Oh. I have a feeling like I missed something. I know I've talked about most everything I've already wanted to talk about, but there's something else. I mean, there are other things that I didn't like, and I already talked about most of the things that I didn't like. I will talk about the voice acting. A lot of people will criticize the voice work in this game, saying it's so much inferior to the original. It's really not. Some things are different. They changed some of the voice actors, which Gray Fox is a different voice actor. Some of the same voice actors voice different characters. Gray Fox definitely improved. He doesn't sound like a black guy. In this. Because we know he's very, very much white. Well, technically half Vietnamese, but that's neither here nor there. If you don't know canon, if you don't know his backstory from Metal Gear 2, then you probably wouldn't care. But, Yeah, the voice work is good. I have no real strong complaints outside of the accent thing towards the voice work. Maybe Paul Eating didn't do as good of a job as he did the original. Maybe it was the voice directing. Who knows? But I have no strong feelings for or against this. I can listen to both. A lot of it's the same voice actors doing the same performance, and a lot of them sound really much the same. But but since the recording is at a higher quality, you don't get that real echoey sound. Which, the echoey sound did work in the original because they were in a big cavernous areas a lot of time and sterile rooms. Sound bounces and echoes and stuff. So that works. But I feel feeling there's like one thing I missed. Talked about the fight scenes. I talked about the blocking, and I talked about the pacing. I mean, okay, another thing I do like is that some of the characters are more animated. Okay, aside from actual animation, where their mouths actually move and they actually have facial expressions, I do like that some of them get, like, especially Liquid. And like I said, it's all about fitting the characters. Some of the characters going blah and being hyper expressive out of absolutely nowhere doesn't make sense. Having Liquid go, "Oh no, brother, you stole my right. It was my birthright to kill father. Now I will continue what he did. I will surpass him. I will destroy him." It makes sense. It makes sense that he's like, the guy's a nut job. He's gonna be like, "Rah." I like that. I like that he did that. I think I talked about everything. Yeah, honestly, the only thing I would have left to talk about are a bunch of things that I didn't like, and that's not what this topic video is supposed to be about. I talked about a few relevant things, and I could talk about some stuff that I didn't like, especially the occasions where Snake gets these random freakouts. Which, why? But, yeah. I think I pretty much talked about it. I think I pretty much talked about all of the, at least most of the aspects of Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes that I enjoyed over the original version. Some stuff worked and some stuff didn't. If they took a more reasonable approach to a lot of these things and dropped a number of the over-the-top things, the cutscenes could have been by far vastly superior to the original in all ways. I kind of wish I would drop a few of the cool moments if we got proper cutscenes, but Kojima told the guys to go crazy. So, thanks, Kojima. But whatever. Anyway, that wraps this video up. Now, if you want to submit a topic, if you're on YouTube, just leave it in the comments below. If you're on Tumblr, just send me an ask, put topic, colon, and then send me your ask. Just to make sure that it's something fictional and it's about something more specific so that I have something to talk about. And I don't want to talk about anything real life because this is supposed to be fun. Now, next week I'll be talking about Star Fox. And I made a couple posts about this, but specifically, it's going to be talking about Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox Assault. So, look forward to that next week. Thank you for watching.